In Korea, a famous web novel called 3 Ways to Survive the Apocalypse used to be extremely popular, but after 10 years and over 1,000 chapters, it only has one reader left. Dok-ja started reading it in middle school and keeps reading it now as an adult. In the story, the protagonist Jung-hyuk fights the hardships sent by the gods as the world nears collapse. His companions fall one by one, but he's always determined to become stronger. Dok-ja finds this inspiring, and rereading the novel helped him push through his high school years while he was harassed by mean classmates. After finishing school, Dok-ja went to a mediocre college, worked some mediocre jobs, and joined a big company on a temporary contract. Today that contract ends, and so does the novel. After his final shift is over, Dok-ja reads the last chapter and is disappointed by the ending because Jung-hyuk is the only survivor. He decides to send a message to the author, saying that this story is the worst. On the train, Dok-ja bumps into his co-worker Sanga, whose contract has ended too. Their chat is interrupted by their former boss Myung-oh, who keeps hitting on Sanga no matter how many times she keeps saying no. Thankfully he gets off the train at the next stop. At that moment Dok-ja is surprised to get a reply from the author. The message thanks Dok-ja for reading until the end and admits he was the only reason why it was finished. The author says that if Dok-ja hated the ending, he should try writing his own when the service starts at 7 p.m. Suddenly the train shakes and comes to a stop while a voice announces that the planetary system 8612's free service has ended, so this is the start of paid content. Dok-ja checks his phone and confirms it's 7 p.m. and realizes this is exactly how the novel starts. A creature from Korean folklore called Dok-ja appears on the train. When a passenger starts insulting it, the Dok-ja shoots him in the head with its laser eyes. The man falls dead and everyone panics, only for the creature to shut everyone up with a scary face. Then the Dok-ja announces that the gods have decided that humans are horrible beings, so they deserve to be punished. All humans will be given a stage and how they solve it will decide their fate. Soon holograms explaining the first stage appear around the passengers. In 10 minutes, they must kill one or more living organisms in the train car. Those who succeed will get 300 coins, and those who fail will be killed. The Dok-ja also says that the constellations will always be watching. On the bridge, the train is frozen and so are all the cars. As the hologram starts a 10-minute timer, the passengers check their phones and discover there's no service. Soon people lose their minds and begin to fight each other, sometimes teaming up against one person. A woman panics and tries to escape to another car, but there's a field force at the doors that's keeping them trapped. When Dok-ja looks at the other car, he's shocked to notice Jung-hyuk in the crowd. He realizes they're living the events of the novel, which means he knows the future. A giant monster appears in the river and hits the train, causing everyone to get stuck in the ceiling. Dok-ja remembers that the rules say they must kill any living organism, it doesn't have to be humans. There's a kid called Gil-young with an ant farm, so Dok-ja grabs it and takes it to Sanga. He gives her some ants before trying to talk to the crowd, but nobody pays attention to him. When Dok-ja kills an ant, a hologram appears saying that he's won the coins, which finally gets everyone's attention. He tells them about the ants, but he doesn't have enough for everyone. As everyone complains, Myung-oh steals the ant farm from him, and the crowd surrounds him instead. There's still a guy beating up an old lady, so Dok-ja tackles him and offers him an ant that got stuck on his hand. However, the guy turns him down, saying he wants to kill the lady. Dok-ja realizes this is Nam-woon, one of the characters from the novel. Nam-woon starts beating Dok-ja up, saying he'll be his victim instead. As Dok-ja tries his best to protect himself, he remembers that in the novel, humans have stats like in video games. He uses the 300 coins to increase his strength and punches Nam-woon, sending him flying across the car. Nam-woon responds by activating his Grimdark Awakening skill, which allows him to easily overpower Dok-ja in seconds. At that moment, the crowd accidentally drops the ant farm and a tube of eggs rolls out. Dok-ja destroys it and receives a huge payment in coins. He spends 3,000 on stamina and another 3,000 on agility, so he dodges all of Nam-woon's attacks and knocks him down. A terrified Nam-woon promises not to hurt the old lady and asks for an ant, but Dok-ja says he doesn't deserve to be in the story. Then Dok-ja runs to act as a shield for the woman since Nam-woon is trying to attack her again. Dok-ja puts an ant in the lady's hand and closes it to crush it before the timer reaches 0. The voice announces that the stage is over and all the losers get a hole in their faces to kill them. Unfortunately, the last ant has managed to escape and the lady dies as well. The Dok-ja reappears and congratulates the 17 humans who passed. Now it's time for them to get gifts from the constellations for their performance. Dok-ja remembers that the constellations are powerful beings that watch the stages from space and enjoy laughing at human struggles. Each passenger gets a list of the constellations that want to sponsor them and they must choose one, but someday that debt must be paid back. Dok-ja decides to turn down sponsorship for now. Suddenly the train starts falling on its side because the river monster is trying to drag it down. A former soldier is trying to open the doors and Dok-ja recognizes him as the character Yun-sung. As the train starts to touch the water, Dok-ja teaches Yun-sung how to use special skills. Yun-sung activates super strength that allows him to bend the doors open. Everyone quickly climbs out while Dok-ja notices that Gil-young is still in the car crying over his ant farm. Dok-ja apologizes and brings him out. As the survivors run as fast as possible, the voice announces the new stage. They must successfully cross the bridge. The monster smashes a section of the bridge to create a huge gap before going back to the river. To make the task more difficult, the Dok-ja drops a train car on the bridge and makes all the dead people chase after the living players. Dok-ja and Yun-sung try to fight them, but they're easily overpowered. At that moment, Song-a manages to activate her skill, which creates a temporary road across the gap. The survivors start running on it to escape, and Dok-ja informs them that poisonous gas will spread soon, so they need to get underground. He thinks that they should go to the nearest subway station, but he then remembers that in the novel, Jung-hyuk dies there while fighting a dragon. He used his skill to go back to the beginning of the story, and everyone else in the station died. If they want to survive, they must keep Jung-hyuk alive so he won't reset, and Dok-ja thinks he can help him using his knowledge of the future. Meanwhile, Jung-hyuk is using a sword and a gun to bring all the attackers down. Then he approaches Dok-ja and asks him what he did, since Nam-woon wasn't supposed to die so soon. Dok-ja shares what will happen in the station and pretends he has a prophecy skill. Jung-hyuk holds him by his tie over the edge as he asks him what tactics to use. Dok-ja panics and doesn't know what to answer, so Jung-hyuk tells him to meet him later in the station before dropping him in the water. The monster swallows Dok-ja and he lands in its stomach. The hologram announces a new stage. He must kill the monster and escape. The Dok-ja is also there narrating things for the stream, so Dok-ja shocks it by calling it by its name, Bai-hyung. He also knows that Bai-hyung is a 9th level Dok-ja, and doing the streams means it can ascend one day. Dok-ja points out that he's probably very popular among the constellations right now, so if he dies, Bai-hyung will receive backlash. Bai-hyung checks its donations and confirms that the Watchers love Dok-ja, so it agrees to sign an exclusivity contract. Then the monster's stomach starts filling with acid. Dok-ja asks for the Dok-ja shop and buys a bunch of spikes to block the acid ducts, which is something he learned from the novel. By blocking all the ducts, the monster will die, however there are hundreds of them. Dok-ja refuses to give up and keeps working until all the ducts are covered, which finally kills the beast and ends the stage. Afterward, Dok-ja inserts his hand into the monster's skin and brings out its nucleus. He asks Bai-hyung to trade it at the shop for a very rare item called Ether of Faith. Before Dok-ja leaves, Bai-hyung gives him an item starter pack, which includes a mask. Dok-ja puts it on before going outside since the poisonous gas is already in the area. He collapses on the shore and starts getting lots of sponsorship offers from constellations, so he turns the notifications off. Next, Dok-ja stops at a store to get some food and finds some bodies. 2 girls are already dead and the third one is barely alive. Suddenly a monster breaks the window, so Dok-ja picks up the survivor and starts running down the street. The creature chases after them, destroying everything on its path. Dok-ja manages to slide into the subway station and brings down the gate just in time for the monster to crash into it. In the corridor, a group of thugs appears and they're surprised to see that the girl Hee-won is alive. Dok-ja remembers this from the novel. These guys beat up and abused Hee-won. He spends 1,500 coins on strength and starts beating the men up. The leader activates his skill to attack, but Dok-ja easily dodges all his moves and defeats him too. When the rest of the thugs are about to attack together, a bunch of survivors show up with In-ho at the front. This causes the thugs to leave. The group from the train is also here, and Song-a tells him that In-ho is a congressman. He leads the survivors in the station by convincing high-level people to go hunting and share the coins with the residents. Meanwhile, Gil-young has acquired a skill that lets him befriend insects. Dok-ja asks about Jung-hyuk, but he isn't there, which makes him wonder if his decisions have changed the story from the novel. At that moment, some men remind the residents that in 3 hours they must pay the survival fee. The high-level players charge that to keep everyone protected until the monster in the tunnels is defeated. Some people are desperate enough to go hunting for the money, but others die on the spot. A crowd surrounds Dok-ja and asks him to share his coins since they know he has a lot. When he asks who said that, In-ho admits he did. He assumed Dok-ja was rich because he saw him use great abilities to fight. In-ho apologizes for being rude and asks Dok-ja to help the desperate residents, but this makes Dok-ja remember that he's a bad guy from the novel, so he refuses to give him anything. It turns out In-ho sold himself to the constellations and gave up his humanity, so he's become a monster. The crowd goes crazy, so Dok-ja agrees to help by finishing the stage instead of giving them the money. Dok-ja puts together a weapon with random scraps and his team goes down the tunnel. Hee-won shares how the thugs killed people to take their coins, then they brought them to the station pretending they got them from hunting monsters. Dok-ja knows she was supposed to die in the store. The tunnel is very dark, so Gil-young summons tons of fireflies to light the place up. Soon a horde of monsters appears and a vicious battle begins. Most of the team uses weapons and quickly kills the creatures as they come. Song-a realizes that her skill is shooting web, so she uses that to attack. Unfortunately, the last standing monster captures her and takes her away. The group chases after them and finds Song-a tied up at the end of the tunnel. A hologram welcomes them to the ground rat's shrine and tells them to eliminate the Warden of the Dark. A bigger monster appears and Dok-ja moves first, dodging the creature's tentacles before hitting it with his weapon. However, a force field blocks him and sends him flying. Yen-sung moves next and his blows do land on the beats, causing it to jump on the ceiling. Then it activates Illusory Prison, which captures the body and ravages the mind. If someone gets caught in it, they'll relive their most horrific memories and die. The skill manages to trap Hee-won, who watches the memory of her and her friends getting caught by In-ho with his thugs. Luckily Dok-ja manages to free her from it. Then he runs to get Gil-young before he gets captured too. Unfortunately Yun-sung is caught and starts seeing the worst memories from his days in the army. Dok-ja tries to save him too, but his attack is blocked, although it drops some little rocks. Suddenly the monster roars to summon his minions. Dok-ja calls Ba-hyung to open the shop and tries to buy White Star Pure Energy, but he's 1,000 coins short. Meanwhile Hee-won keeps fighting the monsters, and with a big jump she manages to land on the back of the boss. Dok-ja follows her example and starts killing creatures until he earns the money he needs. The White Star is inserted in his weapon, which gives him a one-time critical hit. Dok-ja copies Hee-won's jump and slashes the back of the horde dealer, finally killing it. The horde runs away and the illusion disappears, so Yun-sung is free from his memories. Dok-ja remembers from the novel that Yun-sung is haunted by the guilt of not being able to save his friends. The group checks the treasure chest they got for finishing the mission. Hee-won gets 2 short swords, Yun-sung gets a gauntlet, Gil-young receives a helmet that improves his bug skill, Song-a gets a mysterious coat, and Dok-ja gets a broken sword. The others are confused, but Dok-ja doesn't tell them that this is the broken faith. If he finds an ether of faith, the sword will be complete. Gil-young asks about the rocks that fell during the fight, so Dok-ja explains that if he eats them, they'll put his mind in an illusion. The station stage isn't finished yet because there's one monster left. The group rushes back and Hee-won quickly jumps on the gang's leader to finally kill him as revenge. In-ho sends out the rest of his men, so Hee-won gets a new skill from a constellation, which allows her to slice through all the thugs in just a few seconds to defeat them all. In-ho has no choice but to fight and punches a column to show off his strength. His arm becomes monstrous before he attacks Hee-won with his mighty power, but she still keeps up with him and pushes him to the rails. When she's about to kill him, the residents stop her. They explain that they don't clear this stage because they're afraid the next one will be harder, so it's easier to pay the daily fee. They'd hoped that Dok-ja's group would get killed by the monster so they could collect their coins. The voice announces it's time to pay soon, so In-ho uses the distraction to push Hee-won off and run away. Song-a shoots her web and Hee-won swing across the tunnel to catch up. However, when she's about to touch him, a force field throws her back. In-ho mocks them for losing, but suddenly he's shot in the head by a sniper, ending the stage. The sniper introduced herself as Jie before getting all of In-ho's coins. The team tries to leave, but the barrier still blocks them, so Jie explains they only finished the stage from the previous section and during the chase they crossed into a new one. To leave, they have to finish the new stage. Jie leaves and Dok-ja realizes she's another character. She's the only survivor from her class and Jung-hyuk's apprentice. In the station, the voice announces that this area has 104 survivors and they have 10 minutes to reach green zones before the monsters get them. There are only 52 green zones and they're tiny, so people start fighting for a spot. A gang led by Pil-do has closed up a VIP area and they charge coins for the spots. Pil-do has used those coins to buy a security system that shoots at people who try to sneak into the VIP area without paying. Dok-ja tells the team to split and look for green zones. Jie reappears with a message from Jung-hyuk for him. He agrees to fight together, but Dok-ja will have to leave his group and survive alone for the night. Dok-ja remembers how a friend in high school slapped him so the harassers wouldn't bother him, saying that at least one person should survive. Using his knowledge, Dok-ja goes to a specific spot that hasn't turned on yet. Ba-hyung appears to announce that some green zones will vanish and new ones will appear to add more tension. The spot under Dok-ja turns green and he tells his team to fight others for survival. However, Hee-won chooses to fight the monsters instead. The 10 minutes run out and the beasts appear in the station to kill every person who isn't on a green spot. The others decide to help Hee-won and after some hesitation, Dok-ja follows them as well. He thinks that green zones will appear in the most dangerous places to make the show more entertaining, so the group splits to go to the monster portals. The beasts keep killing people on the main platform, but Dok-ja's team manages to hold their own with their skills. To Dok-ja's surprise, Jung-hyuk is waiting by one of the portals, just watching him fight the monsters while protecting Gil-young. The green zone here is for 2 people and Jung-hyuk is taking one spot. He says he'll only fight the monster with Dok-ja if he abandons the kid. On the other portal, the others find a 3-person green zone, so they save themselves from the horde. Dok-ja refuses to abandon Gil-young and leaves him in the green zone with Jung-hyuk before running away. He keeps all the monsters' attention on him and when they tackle him, he eats a glowing rock. His body is taken to the illusion prison, saving him from the beast's attacks. Sadly, this also makes him watch the time he fought his best friend to satisfy his harassers. Dok-ja won the fight that day and later learned the other boy self-deleted, so he's been feeling guilty since then. He hated the ending of the novel because Jung-hyuk sacrificed people to save himself. Dok-ja wants an ending where the hero can survive with his loved ones. Suddenly Jung-hyuk uses a skill to enter the illusion and says Dok-ja should have fought his harassers instead of his friend. Jung-hyuk admits he used to think like Dok-ja, but after dozens of battles, he learned that humans are trash. In the morning, Dok-ja wakes up and discovers his team brought him to a private room while he was unconscious. They fought the monsters to protect him and Yunsung got wounded in the process. Dok-ja realizes that today is the day that Yunsung fights the dragon, so he'll have to die instead to save him. The voice announces that today there are 57 survivors. Bai-hyung informs them that the constellations are angry because some people helped each other instead of fighting, so as punishment they'll only get one green zone. Whoever is standing on it when the timer ends will win. The green zone appears under Pil-du, who doesn't look bothered. Dok-ja tells Jie that he has a plan and asks for her help, but she refuses. To make her feel bad, he mentions how she killed her classmates to win the first stage. Jie cries but leaves anyway. Then Dok-ja calls Bai-hyung, who confirms the constellations love him and are donating tons of money. Dok-ja asks Bai-hyung to transform all the money into coins and approaches Pil-du, offering to hire him with all his coins. Pil-du takes the deal and passes the glowing square to Dok-ja, who starts smashing it with his sword. The crowd tries to stop him, but Jie finally understands and shoots the green zone to destroy it. The light goes out and Dok-ja points out that if everyone had fought together since the beginning, nobody would have died. He transfers the money to Pil-du to finish their deal, asking him to protect everyone. Pil-du allows the crowd to enter his VIP zone for free, then he brings out all the weapons he bought for his security system. When the monsters come out, Pil-du opens fire and soon there are piles of creature bodies by the portal. Some creatures manage to escape the bullets, only to be brought down by Dok-ja, Sangha, and Hee-won. At that moment the ground opens and a dragon appears, breathing fire on people to kill them. With a combination of gun and sword, Jung-hyuk easily fights the dragon and strikes him several times. The constellations aren't happy that a high-level player has arrived, so they raise the difficulty. Suddenly the station shatters and appears in outer space. The dragon transforms its body into something steel-like, which wasn't in the novel. Jung-hyuk tries to attack it and his sword gets shattered, so he summons a new one and tries again. The dragon quickly overpowers him and stabs him with his own weapon. This doesn't stop Jung-hyuk from trying over and over again. Dok-ja opens his starter kit and swallows an item that will protect him from the flames. Sangha uses her web to drag Jung-hyuk out of the monster's grasp and Dok-ja takes over the fight. The dragon keeps bringing him down, but at least its fire does nothing. While the dragon's distracted, a huge monster tackles it to the ground. It turns out that since this creature is a bug, Gil-young can control it, although he feels the pain that the monster does. Unfortunately the dragon is too strong and is beating the bug up, which may kill Gil-young soon. Yunsung refuses to lose another friend and rushes to fight, which awakens his special skill. The gauntlet transforms into a shield that stops the dragon's attacks and the ground rises to block it. Then Sangha creates a web bridge for Hee-won to jump on. She lands on the dragon's back to slash its body a few times. Now Yunsung can break through the wall to push the dragon down and Dok-ja tries to stab it, however the dragon flies up to escape. A flashback reveals that the plan is to stab the dragon's core to kill it, but that will also kill the attacker. The mission reward will give them an item to revive one person. Sangha shoots web again and restrains the dragon while Dok-ja jumps to finally stab it in the chest, but the sword doesn't go through. Jie shoots the dragon's chest to make a crack, only for the monster to push Dok-ja off. The chest closes the wound and the team loses all hope. Suddenly Jung-hyuk finishes killing the rest of the monsters and fights the dragon again. After exchanging a few blows, he manages to pierce the core, and the dragon's breath covers them both in fire. Just like the novel, Jung-hyuk's flaming body falls to the ground and his skill activates to send him back. Dok-ja watches how everyone is starting to disappear and thinks it's over. At that moment, he's shocked to see that the author has accepted his trade in the market and has sent him the Ether of Faith. Dok-ja immediately puts it in his sword to transform it into the attribute weapon. The rest of the team surrounds the dragon and keeps it distracted, giving Dok-ja time to jump on it and finally kill it. The voice announces that the stage is over and Dok-ja revives Jung-hyuk with a reward. The station turns back to normal and Jung-hyuk is surprised to see that Dok-ja survived the dragon's death, thanks to the special sword. The crowd celebrates and now Dok-ja is sure they can write a new ending for the story. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.